Hey, everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom, the program that is focused for the foreseeable future on talking about things in the church that shouldn't be in the church, in the firm resolve and hope and belief and faith that one of these days will be on the other side of this season. Now, Saturday night, I was sent a text, as a few other podcasters were sent, of a video short that included or was mostly about Rebecca Weiss. And it's just, to many of us, painfully obvious what is going on. The situation is sad, but maybe we can interject some hope and prayer, but we can certainly analyze. And I have some help along that line. And we've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started.
I hear the sweet sound of freedom, and I won't be long.
And to help supplement my lack of articulation ability and intellect ability, I am very fortunate to bring on, I believe for the first time in an extended live capacity, the one and only Elizabeth Davis from By Faith by Elizabeth Davis. Elizabeth, how are you this evening?
I'm well, Everett. How are you doing?
I'm
Thank you for having
fantastic.
me.
Well, thank you for being here. Now, the video that we're going to spend some time talking about tonight, did you receive that on Saturday? Did Candy send that to you also? Or
She did.
Yeah. And I couldn't do nothing with it. I was already tired. I'd already probably eaten 2 or 3 steaks that day.
Ooh, that's a lot of steak.
No, I'm kind of. I think I ate one that day, and now I mentioned that once, and people are starting to put that in the comments and everything. They think I'm calmer when I do, and they are probably right. But you did an entire program on this, and so I said, you know what? I was going to talk about this anyway. Why not? I'm like Johnny Carson. When I run out of jokes, I bring in people that are funnier. That's what he used to do. And so when I run out of smarts, I can bring in people that are smarter. And so thank you for being available tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. This is exciting. I don't think we've ever gotten to do a broadcast together, just some smaller projects. So this is cool. This is fun.
It's a first. It's a first. Now, before we get started, pardon me, Elizabeth, you were one of the special guests at the event of April 12th in Grapevine, Texas. And I just thought we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment. And I'd just like to give you the floor. Do you remember that event? Would you like to sum it up or just give us any thoughts or summation? Talk to us about that. Just what was your impression? What do you remember?
Oh, I remember having the time of my life. I speak a lot about when I used to Irish dance, and when I stopped. But when I stopped, I just felt like, I never really had anything that I was so passionate about and loved so much, and was able to help people and glorify God. And but when I was on the stage, when I would dance, it was like the best time ever, and I loved competing. And of course, we weren't at a competition in Grapevine, but it was it reminded me of that, the camaraderie that everyone had, just getting to meet new people. Like that very much went on at dance competitions, and just having people support you and watch you and cheer you on. Like that's really what that reminded me of. And I haven't found that sense of community since then. And when I stepped off of the stage, it just felt like I had actually accomplished something. Like all my hard work was worth something, and that I got to glorify God, most importantly, and share his word with others. And that was really what was so cool. And, getting to meet the podcasters was like a little bit, I was a little starstruck. I'm not one to get intimidated or starstruck, but I got that. I felt that way a couple times, and it was really cool. It was a really fun time, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
But didn't I definitely had this sense that every podcaster, I'll talk about the audience maybe just for a minute, but every podcaster that I met, when I met them, I felt like I already knew them, because every single individual was exactly who who they present themselves to
Yeah.
be. That was my impression.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And, you know, the intimidation quickly fades because you realize that the person that you're speaking to is the exact same as the one that you watch on YouTube and listen to. So that was really fun. And, you know, it feels like we've all known each other for such a long time. And there's just this familiarity there that you don't often get when you meet new people. And I'm really reserved when I meet new people a lot of the time, but with all the podcasters, I just felt like, you know, we've always known one another, and I felt like I could be myself right away, which is really unusual. I don't normally feel that way with new people, so I loved that.
Yeah, and the people there were just, it's so
Oh, no.
tremendous. And there wasn't no green room.
No,
I did get to eat half a taco. That was good during it was busy, but to meet so many real people. Okay, Elizabeth, I gave you a warning. I'm going to play a shameless support plug here, and then we're going to get away. So get ready. Buckle up. We're going to get started. Here we go. Thanks for tuning in to Ohio for Freedom. If you'd like to support the program, it's very much appreciated. There's a link in the description for PayPal. You can also use Zelle at ohioforfreedom@gmail.com. You'll see my first name pop up, and you'll know it's the right link. As of June 3rd, I believe was the date on Tuesday, folks, we're doing this full time. And while that is a very positive development, it was kind of unexpected, but we perceive it's of the Lord. And I got to tell you, within 24 hours, so much new stuff has been put on my plate that we more than have our hands full. So your support is certainly appreciated. And I will have another announcement at the end of this video. But for now, let's get back into this episode. Now, Elizabeth, you got to admit, that's a pretty cool backdrop. That you saw that.
It is really cool. I like that. Where is that?
It's down by the Little Miami River, and it's real. I'm going to go back there and do this. I just stumbled upon it, and I said, this is just too cool. Okay, let's do this. Let's introduce the subject matter, the clip itself, I've got a version of it that's about 2 minutes. Probably, knowing me, at about 1 minute in, I'll stop it. But if you want me to stop it before, but then we're probably likely to go back and kind of take this one apart. But folks, before people watch this, which we're going to do right now, Elizabeth, why don't you set it up? What are we actually watching? What's the takeaway, even before we see it, in your opinion, as you see it?
Well, I would say we're watching someone who is not quite in touch with what's going on, maybe incriminating herself a little bit, and just making herself look pretty guilty and silly. But it shouldn't be that way, because I also see someone with a lot of potential and very wise if it was to be applied the right way.
Yeah. Beautiful young lady, knows the Lord, obviously loves God, but is just not seeing it. I really pray that she does. But let's show the people what we're talking about.
And so you have to come to a place of knowing God to really walk in this kind of like freedom with him. You have to have that relationship with him.
Absolutely.
It just can't be a religious.
Because religion can be an idol.
It's a huge idol.
Huge idol. But God will not be in a religious formula. He will not be a logo of a church. Our ministries can easily become idols, right? The things that God blessed us with, like what we're talking about today. But
that's why this is so important to talk about.
It's so important.
Because it's like God will give you these God dreams. He'll give you these God blessings like family, but unintentionally, because your motives can be good, your intentions could be good, but over time, through fear and, like you said, unresolved trauma, it can become an idol. And then the very thing that you're meant to steward well, you are now living in fear and slavery to. And then it starts to hurt those things that you're called to. Or like, for example, ministry. If you are doing ministry for ministry and no longer for him, that's an idol.
Absolutely.
And on the outside, it will all look good, and there still can be good fruit. Because God will move through things, because God loves people, wants to touch people, but eventually that's going to come crumbling down.
And you lose your freedom, because remember, idols take away your freedom. You become a slave. You become a bondservant. Nobody ever wants to get in a ministry and say, I really hope this thing like bosses me around 24 hours a day. I really hope I lose my love for God and this thing actually drives me. to fear and worry and panic
Yep.
and anxiety. Nobody ever wants that and signs up for that. You have to be super careful about any blessing becoming a master. So you asked earlier, how do we break that? You actually answered the question. One practical thing we can do is renounce it with our lips, with our mouth. I renounce the idol of my children. God, I repent.
Elizabeth, I'm going to let you have the first word.
I think that it seems like Rebecca's guest is like almost ministering to her. And, you know, I kind of felt that way when she had Philip Anthony Mitchell on too. I feel like God is trying to use these guests on Rebecca's podcast, which in my opinion is a pretty good podcast. Like I said, if it was in the right circumstances, Rebecca is absolutely like idolizing her mother and her ministry and her podcast and, you know, whatever other worldly possessions that she has, be it her home or clothes, or I don't know what she loves most, but ultimately she is a slave to what she's talking about. So,
And when you say idol, am I right in thinking that you mean more than just like, you know, you can kind of be sort of fan struck, or, you know, like I've never really had guitar idols, but I've got guys that are guitar players that I certainly look up to. But you mean more than that. You mean idol, and what else goes along with making somebody an idol?
It's someone that you strive to be like above anyone else, and that person has a sense of control over you, whether it's direct or indirect, and they are either equal to or above God. That's what I see as an idol.
Yeah. And even if like in this podcast, and here's the thing, I absolutely agree with you. Even in this podcast, the guest said a lot of powerful things. Rebecca said a lot of powerful things.
Yeah,
It's just,
absolutely.
and then they come out with this, but I believe that one thing that came out in that podcast is she'll say what an idol takes your power away. An idol controls you. An idol manipulates you. Now, is there any of that aspect that comes into play where Rebecca and her mom are concerned, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they are the most enmeshed mother-daughter duo I've ever seen in my entire life. I've seen a lot of unhealthy mother-daughter relationships in my life. And, you know, I think just being a female and someone that I'm close to my mom, who she's amazing and it is nothing like Joanie, might I add.
By the way, folks, I'm interrupting. And there was a comment that said, you interrupt your guest. So Elizabeth, watch out, I interrupt. When you meet Elizabeth and her mom, you can't tell who's the mom and who's the daughter. They look exactly alike.
Yeah, I've gotten that many times, but yeah, she's great. She's nothing like that. But you know, I think girls already kind of look up to their moms and they want to be like them. You know, if we have a good mom, and so, but I think that theirs is like a whole other level of that, to where yes, she's controlling Rebecca and idolizes her. Rebecca idolizes her, and I think Joanie very much takes advantage of that and knows that and uses that against Rebecca.
I think that women are able to talk about certain things that guys can try to talk about, but men, and I mean this sincerely, there's things that women will never get, but there's things that men just usually are not going to get nearly as quickly as a woman does. But is there something going on where, like, Rachel, the caustic one, the Church of Accountability one, the whatever, is there something going on where she's kind of like the bad daughter, but Joanie can't control her, and so has to try to manage her, and Rebecca is like the good kid who tries to make up for the imbalance in the overall relationship? Or is that stupid?
No, I don't think that's stupid at all. One of the things I think about that perhaps Joanie has said to Rebecca is like, you know, I love my family so much. I can't believe I'm seeing it torn apart, and just playing the victim and using that against Rebecca. And then there's Rachel, who Yeah, I don't think Rachel she's out of control. She's been out of control. She'll probably always be out of control unless she actually gives her heart to the Lord, the Lord of her life. Rachel's not going to stop anytime soon. She's a freight train just waiting for disaster, headed straight for disaster. I mean, at some point, the girl's actions are going to catch up with her, and not even Joanie's going to be able to stop that. That's how out of control I think Rachel is.
Can I share this thought with you just because it's been in my head, and then later if I don't say it, it'll still bug me, and I'll think I have to do a whole other series just because of the one thing I didn't say. But had a lot of time to I really believe, Elizabeth, that the Lord had me there at NRB so that I was able to see with my own eyes and know that it actually happened when they took our brother Ray out of the convention. I was there. I saw it. Okay. I was able to witness it. But going back over the video, when he was escorted out and when Laura Lynn was following, and I'm following them, didn't even realize what was happening yet. The video shows that Rebecca had walked around and she was standing and she was watching that happen. And if I can just stop right there for a second, if you had any sense of justice, any sense of right and wrong, I'm going to lay this at Rachel's feet. You would have opened your mouth and said something. You can see clearly what's going on. You watch that. Do you follow? Do you follow me? That's such an indictment of the spite and the meanness and the wickedness. Because otherwise, you say, "Hey, wait a second, I'm not cool with this."
Yeah, that girl, Rachel knows how to disrespect people to the highest level that you can. And I think one of the ways that she does that is by attacking how people look. I have not shared this publicly, but there's an account that is one of those, crazy parody accounts on X and follows Department of Church Accountability. And in fact, they've gone after Joshua Simone many, many times from Torn Curtain. And then they made a meme. They took one of my photos that I took on my family vacation, and they put a bunch of words over it and made it a meme that wasn't the picture had like a paragraph worth of words. And when you're making a meme, in my opinion, it should be like 3 to 4 words max. And that's it. But anyway, they attacked how I looked. They were body shaming me and saying all kinds of mean things. And it's just something that Rachel would do. And, and I'm not trying to make what you just said about me, but I'm just saying this is what she does. She did the same thing to Joshua Simone. And then she watches what's clearly, it's clearly an attack against Pastor Ray, and just like, yeah, that's cool. Like, do it. Do what you got to do, man. Protect me. I'm a princess. I'm a queen. No, Rachel's a diva. And the worst one I've ever seen.
Well, we want to get back to that clip, but I wanted to read this comment. Rachel's widespread reputation of being a mean bully girl then stands next to Joshua with a plastered smile, ear to ear, makes her seem, I didn't read this last part, horrendous in character. They've said that twice, horrendous. Well, since you said this, I was going to make a joke, and a joke only works if it's rooted in, has a level of truth in it.
Yeah.
But I was literally going to make this joke and say, Elizabeth, do I hear it right? Are you working on a big deal to launch a hair care line? Okay. Because you've got a big, beautiful set of hair. So take that, all you memesters. Get out of town. Oh my goodness. Well, why don't we do this? I want to play this RFK clip. Well, no, I tell you what, let's do. Let's play the RFK clip to more or less establish you can kind of see a pattern here. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit, but then I would actually like to go back to the very clip that we just played and almost take it apart line by line, if it makes sense. Because here's the thing, folks. Let me say this, and then please weigh in, Elizabeth. I feel like Rachel is testifying, Rebecca, sorry. she's testifying against herself.
Yeah.
It's like she's crying out for help. It's like she's really revealing an inner struggle. And it's like, do you not realize what's going on? You're supposed to be telling the truth, and it'll be okay if you. What's your take on that?
I think she's absolutely testifying against herself. I mean, that's why they don't let witnesses defendants take the stand a lot of the time, because they incriminate themselves. They go off script. They don't do what they're told. They don't say the right things. And when you have a podcast, the floor is yours, and no one can really interrupt you. And so to be at a podcast and have that state of my life would be oof. The girl's going through it, and she's the only one that can get herself out of it, because I think the Lord has had his hand right there stretched out to her since the day she told Susie that she wasn't going to stand by her, or however that went. The Lord has given Rebecca opportunity after opportunity, and he's been so merciful to her, and she just continues to, what I believe, in my opinion, walk in disobedience. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. And I feel like the Lord has helped me. I don't want to slam Jonathan Weiss or slam Rebecca Weiss. I do want to say it is okay if you tell the truth and simply speak the truth and stand up. Here's one thing that's kind of shocking to me, Elizabeth. I didn't expect to say this. Rebecca, you have to understand, hon, you've grown up in a big deal family with a ton of money, and your mom has millions of dollars, and you talk every day to ordinary people. And what's kind of weird is, Elizabeth, I think probably most of the ordinary people, the sometimes blue collar people, the sometimes got to work 2 jobs or just do whatever it takes to make life work, I think mostly that the ordinary people are probably happier than she is.
Oh, for sure. I think that way about most of the people that are still like within Daystar and involved with it. They look happy, with their beautiful smiles, because I think Rachel, Rebecca, and Joanie have really beautiful smiles, but there's no joy in their smile. It's, when I used to dance, we would practice with smiles on our faces. We did. We danced for psychopaths. But anyway, they would make us smile to practice performance. And I'm telling you, I was never more miserable. That was the hardest physical state I could be in. The top most endurance I could, put out of my body. And I had a smile on my face, but I felt anything but happy or joyful. It was an act.
If we watch television, which we do to relax, my wife and I, it's watching a crime show. But when we turn on the TV that we have, it's like this default. I don't even know what it's a Samsung channel or a whatever. So that's always playing, and you can't wait to get out of it. And for a month, it was stuck on Dance Moms. Ooh, what an icky show! Anyway. Oh my gosh, it's like live your own life in house. Let's do this. We're gonna go back a few months. Let me play this clip. We'll talk about it in a minute. But then I do want to go back to the first clip and simply analyze. And maybe if Rebecca gets a whiff, you just need to know, Rebecca, we are rooting for you. Okay. Yeah. I don't agree with what you've done at all. In fact, you're wrong. Okay. Yeah. It's my opinion. Happens to be right. But the thing is that it's always right to do the right thing. It's not too late to do the right thing. And I just want to say it. I'll say it several times, Elizabeth. It will be okay. Yep. I don't care who has your mortgage. I don't care who pays your paycheck. Wouldn't it be great to find out that if all of that was stripped away tomorrow, that you'd never miss a meal, your kids would not be out on the street, all your needs would be met, people would love you, people would forgive you, you would feel the provision and the comfort, and you'd find out that you can stand with the Lord, just you, your husband, your kids, and the Lord, and it will be okay. And Elizabeth, I'm sorry for going off on so long. I'm not sure she knows that in her heart deep inside.
Evidently not. And it's so crazy to me. She has a huge advantage and putting a stop to this whole Pete thing, and she chooses not to do it over and over. She is the one that withholds the power right now to, well, of course, God is, God is God. I'm not discounting the Lord here when I say this, but she has the keys to justice for her family, and she's a gatekeeper. She holds on to it. That's what she's been doing, but maybe one day she'll change her mind.
Let's play this RFK clip, and then I'll let you comment on it, and then we'll eventually get back to the one that we started with. Here we go.
Not a lot of people want to talk about it, because when you talk about it, you put a target on your back. And I think one of the first things I want to ask you is, how does someone stand up and do the right thing when they know that they're going to face great opposition when they do it?
Well, first of all, your mom and Marcus were the templates for courage during COVID. They were this was one of the only platforms where I could actually come and tell the truth on television. It's probably the only platform.
I'll give you the first word, Elizabeth.
It's pretty evident to me that she's speaking about her family situation, because Rebecca doesn't show a whole lot of emotion other than when she's talking about her family. From what I've seen, she's very much prides herself on the fact that she's a family-oriented person, and I can understand feeling like maybe you're betraying your mom and your sister, but at the same time, no, it's actually backwards. They're betraying you and your brother. So, and it's not easy to stand up and do the right thing. It's not, but that doesn't mean that you don't do it.
I'm not aware that Joanie Lamb has done anything illegal. If she had, justice still needs to be served. But I'd like to think that people in my life, if I was just walking in the wrong direction and the whole world could see it, and 25 major ministries would walk away from me because they could see it, I would think that I would hope and pray that somebody in my family would love me and the Lord enough that they would tell me. But she seems pretty conflicted in that clip. Sorry. So why don't we do this? Let's go back to the first one. And you got the thing that I do sometimes. You'll play a little bit and talk a little bit. So that's what we're going to do.
Yes.
And what you need to do is say, stop. And I'll stop. Okay. So here we go.
So you have to come to a place of knowing God to really walk in this kind of like freedom with him. You have to have that relationship with him.
Absolutely.
It just can't be a religious.
Because religion can be an idol.
It's a huge idol.
Huge idol. But God will not be in a religious formula. He will not be a logo of a church. Our ministry.
I got to stop there. Go ahead. Yeah. He will not be a religious. Go ahead.
I just thought that what her guest said, which, forgive me, I don't know her name, but she says a lot of really good things, like, that religion can be an idol. That's so true.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, as we allow the video to play, Rebecca is going to absolutely agree with her. Well, let's just do that. Let's just play it. We will see. Here we go. And
ministries can easily become idols, right? The things that God blessed us with, like what we're talking about today. But
that's why this is so important to talk about.
It's so important.
Because it's like God will give you these God dreams. He'll give you these God blessings like family. But unintentionally, because your motives can be good, your intentions could be good, but over time, through fear and, like you said, unresolved trauma, it can become an idol.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious what the unresolved trauma is that Rebecca refers to right there, Like, why did she feel the need to hit on that again? Is it because of, she's concerned that maybe a viewer might feel that way? Or is it because she feels that way? She has unresolved trauma. And what would that trauma be?
But does That's just, to me, when I hear that, it's like, that's just, I know that they prep, us
Right.
podcasters, we do other stuff and we like scramble, try to be somewhat pulled together when we get here. But these people have scripts and they have all of this and they have producers and all of that. So you would think that this young lady at that facility would have plenty of time to prep. And so what I'm saying is, Elizabeth, I don't think this was on the script. I think this is just coming out. This is just what's on the inside coming out.
Well, and I noticed I'm not as brushed up on my body language knowledge as I used to be, Everett, but I didn't happen to notice that when she said something like family, it was almost like family, like she almost rolled her eyes. And she like looks up like, oh, almost like she has a revelation. Oh yeah, like my family, or I deal with this too, where I idolize my family. And I've done the same thing. So maybe that's why I caught that. But her body language right there, just that split second where she says my family, her whole body kind of tenses up, it seems like. And maybe I'm misinterpreting it or reading her wrong, but that's just what I saw. I mean, those are my eyes.
Well, and then I also noticed, I might back it up a little bit, I'm known for this, but while the guest is talking, boy, she's really nodding her head. Let's just play this.
These God dreams, he'll give you these
God. Oh, no. I'll back up a little. And I do this too.
Like
I'm
what
not
we're talking about today.
See, look at that.
That's why this is so important to talk about.
So she's important
because it's like God.
And I want to say this before I forget. This is live and it's not scripted. And something else I thought about, I never really thought about before until we were talking just now. So if perhaps Rachel is the unruly one that's like out of control, so Joanie tries to control her as best she can, and that's why Joanie would send her to the NRB convention, carefully chaperoned and controlled by Shannon Kelly. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Well, isn't Rebecca? I missed those names. That's my bad. But isn't Rebecca on camera about as much as her sister Rachel?
Is she on there as much, do you think? Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking, but I mean, it's not like she's invisible.
Well,
is that
Rachel doesn't have her own podcast, and I think that's for a reason.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm really getting at. They would send Rachel, the loudmouth, carefully monitored and controlled by Shannon Kelly. Rebecca wasn't there. I don't think she was there the whole week. Is that because, just follow me, and I'm just thinking out loud, maybe this doesn't make any sense, but even though Rachel's a loose cannon, her being at NRB with Shannon Kelly, getting the right people kicked out and all that stuff, that's kind of manageable. Is it possible that if Rebecca was there and had a conversation with her brother, that the thing would have unraveled?
I think it's possible for sure. I think Rebecca is like a ticking time bomb with that. And so, we don't see Rebecca with Joanie as much, or in these types of situations for sure, like the NRB. I mean, Rebecca and Joanie, I'm curious what their relationship is like today as it stands. Like, are they good, or are they, I don't know. I think Rebecca does feel very controlled, and potentially I would feel controlled if I was
does
her.
Joanie ever say, now, we're not going to talk about your brother. We're not going to talk about Susie. I mean, and
unless you're going to slander them, that's the only time we're going to talk about them, is to call them liars and smear campaign, whatever kind of crazy Joanie says about Jonathan that's not true. And he's lazy.
Rebecca, do you love your brother? Rebecca, I mean, what's going on? This is crazy. That's your brother. That's your sister-in-law. You want to tell me that you're really closer to your sister Rachel than you were to Susie? We'll keep this playing here.
Will give you these God dreams. He'll give you these God blessings like family, but unintentionally, because your motives can be good, your intentions could be good, but over time, through fear and, like you said, unresolved trauma, it can become an idol. And then the very thing that you're meant to steward well, you are now living in fear and in slavery too.
Now that's a softball over the home plate there, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, especially when she refers to, she includes family in all of that. And I think she idolizes the approval of Joni potentially. I mean, I don't know. This is just speculation, I guess, and I don't know her. But I know Susie and Jonathan, and I know that I could not choose anyone over them. I would be so honored to stand up for them. If I would be so honored to be Jonathan's sister. Like, when I think about how I feel about my brother, he's 7 years younger than me. And there is not a person in this world who could turn me against my brother. Not even my mom. And I don't understand how Joni is so clearly wrong in covering things up. And Rebecca allows Joni to keep her from her brother. That could never, oh my God, that would be so awful for me as a sister. I just couldn't do that to my brother.
We're back to the tape. Here we go.
And then it starts to hurt those things that you're called to. Or like, for example, ministry. If you are doing ministry for ministry and no longer for him, that's an idol.
Absolutely.
And then on the outside of
I got to say something here, Elizabeth, then I'll throw it back to you. If you got to do ministry for ministry's sake and not for him, it's an idol. Hello, is it an idol? I mean, Rebecca, honestly, can you say that it's not an idol? I'm just going to, I certainly, by the way, in case the memesters out there are running short of material, Elizabeth, I wanted to do something nice. I wanted to be kind to my enemies. If you need a meme, here, go for it. Okay? Go for it. Go for it. Okay? Listen, if the Lord can deliver this old gray-haired guy out of alcoholism and like just set somebody free, and you have to deal with some of the humiliation or whatever, and you still live to tell about, I'm just here to tell you that these people, Elizabeth, they don't have to deal with anything like that. What is standing in the way from you doing the right thing? Which, I'm sorry, to us, it's absolutely clear. The right thing is just to speak up and tell the truth.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, is there a letter? Is there a letter?
Oh, I 100% believe there's a letter. That's why there's a lawyer. That's why JW has a lawyer.
The Colleyville police said that there's a letter.
Yeah.
They said they tried to make a copy of it, and Mr. Lawyer wouldn't allow it. So there's a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And they threatened to, there's still the idea of doing a subpoena about it. So if there's a letter, what's wrong with truth and transparency? I'm taking us in a direction you weren't counting on, and that's what I tend to do. And that's why people say,
I'll follow you.
You talk over the top of your guest. I'm not an interviewer. No. We have discussions.
Yeah, that's the way I like it.
But let's just think for a minute. Elizabeth, what's the worst that could happen to Rebecca and her
Homeless
family?
Shelter, I guess. I don't know. Like, we live in America, girl. You're always talking about America and how patriotic you are, and that's like half of what Daystar stands on. They're like almost more patriotic than they are Christian. And come on, you're gonna be fine. Like, that's just where you live, but who you serve, or who you say you serve, is the Almighty God. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's Jehovah Jireh. He's always going to provide for you. He's always going to take care of you. I've heard so many things come out of Rebecca's mouth of just how much she understands who God is and who she is in the Lord. So it's really, really sad to me that she's not walking in that, because you can know who you are in the Lord and not walk in it, or you can know who God is and how good he has been to you and still choose not to remember that and operate out of fear and walk in fear. And it's, as someone who's done that, like, I know that that's true. And that's what I really see with her. I don't see a person like Rachel who's so vindictive and honestly evil. I don't see that with Rebecca at all. I see someone who's like scared out of her mind and it's eating her alive, but yet maybe JW is saying, I have a sort of opinion that maybe JW is the one that doesn't want to go forward, and she would if she had, that backing from him. But that's another thought that I've had. I don't know that that's true either. I think JW is the one we know the least about of everybody at Clay.
But still, we could go and do all the Esther sermons that we've heard, but let's just keep it simple. Is it possible that the Lord has raised somebody up for such a time as this, and that if you keep quiet, help and deliverance will come from another source, but you can miss out on it? I can't see the downside. Elizabeth, I didn't expect, so apologize. I have this thing that, like, a man doesn't want to be somebody else's man. Whatever you choose to do, you want it to be because you chose to do it. That you don't want to be controlled by somebody else. You don't want to be a mommy's boy all your life. You don't want to be a daddy's boy all your life. I don't know exactly if there's a female equivalent to that. But at some point, doesn't a woman want to say, I want to be, and I'm going to be in the Lord, I'm going to be my own woman?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my opinion, there's a such thing as an alpha female. I mean, there's women who are in leadership. I mean, there's women who take charge in situations, and that doesn't come from nowhere. That comes from knowing who she is and what she wants out of life. And if you're a Christian, you should be the most unstoppable person, and be that in the Lord and walk in the Lord, and a woman of God. I mean, we have a whole chapter dedicated to the way a woman of God is supposed to be. And it's so beautiful. And the Proverbs 31 woman, she's a virtuous woman. She's not afraid of anything ever. And she stares at fear in the face and says, I just don't care.
Yeah. We'll keep playing this. Here we go.
Will all look good, and there still can be good fruit. Because God will move through things because God loves people, wants to touch people, but eventually that's going to come crumbling down.
I jump on, but see, she's saying if you can make ministry an idol, and then you do stuff, out of fear instead of a love for God. But she says, good things can still happen,
right?
Because but I just want to ask Rebecca, is that what's going on? I mean, is God blessing people through what you're involved in spite of you? Is that a fair enough question, Elizabeth?
I think it's a fair enough question for sure. And I actually kind of said the same thing when I talked about this on my channel. It's almost like she's settling for good, like that's good enough. God's still using me. I'm still a child of God. He still loves me. And yes, all of those things are very true. And I absolutely think that it's possible that God can help someone through her podcast for sure. But it's like the most watered down version of help. She has like I said, she has the keys to like unlock and be a hero. I mean, not to the point where she gets the credit and God gets none, or, Jonathan and Susie get none because they have been so courageous, but like Rebecca would be the one to say like enough is enough, and she seems to have that kind of will within her. So I'm not really sure what keeps her from doing that, and that's the thing that I've been trying so hard to understand. I can't understand it.
Makes you want to make a thumbnail that says, will Rebecca Weiss ever finally realize? That's good. Okay. But I thought I hit play. Let's play this.
And you lose your freedom, because remember, idols take away your freedom. You become a slave.
I will go ahead, Elizabeth. You lose your freedom. Idols take away your freedom.
I think that's exactly what Rebecca's living. Like she's just literally in one sentence described Rebecca Lamb Weiss's life.
Oh, man, idols, they take away your freedom.
Yeah.
You lose your freedom. My goodness, Mike. Isn't it amazing that the most free you are is when you are fully submitted to the Lord? And fully submitted to the Lord means you're courageous. You don't have a choice. When it's time to speak up, you speak up. When it's time to tell the truth, you tell the truth.
You become a bondservant. Nobody ever wants to get in a ministry and say, I really hope this thing like bosses me around 24 hours a day. I really hope I lose my love for God, and this thing actually drives me to fear and worry and panic and anxiety. Nobody ever wants that and signs up for that. You have to be super careful about any blessing becoming a master.
Could one of those blessings that you need to be super careful about, Elizabeth, be like a mortgage from your mom or from your employer?
Is that really a blessing? I mean, I would question it as soon as someone offered that to me. Like, okay, but what am I going to be tied to until it's paid off or taken care of? Or am I going to be indebted to you forever? Like, what's the catch? That's too good to be true. What's the catch?
It is true, though, isn't it? I mean, that is the case. We pretty much know that, right?
Yeah.
You're living in a company provided mortgage. It's kind of a lot of strings attached. Do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like when you have a paycheck, somebody's giving you a paycheck, you're obligated to them in a certain sense. You have to do there's certain expectations required of you to continue to get that paycheck. So why would a mortgage be any different, if not more demanding and more abusive? Because, my job is not abusive to me. My job takes care of me, but my job doesn't own my home. My job doesn't control everything I say and do.
When did your job put the tracker on your car, Elizabeth?
Oh, that'd be the day. That'd be the day. I dare them. No, actually, I don't. I'm just kidding. But I don't even know. There would be no cool left in me. I would be so angry. Like, there would be no stopping me from having some things to say and doing something about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And now I feel like I'm just meddling, but and maybe we're revisiting some issues, but I'm not telling any families what they have to do, but it does kind of seem like convention would sort of suggest very strongly that if somebody passes away and they're worth millions, don't you do something nice for your kids, with that wealth, and maybe give them an opportunity to start in other words, but again, I know this is rehash for most of the people that have been following this, but Joanie didn't do anything for these kids, did she?
No, because Joanie's so wrapped up in her own narcissism. Like, how could she? And if she did, it would be the same thing. Like, what's the catch? What am I going to have to do now? What's going to be expected of me now? Now, it's just another way to have control and, oh, mom, you're so awesome. But, well, she didn't even do that much. So I don't know. Maybe she's just.
We're meddling. Okay, let's play the last little bit.
So you asked earlier, how do we break that? You actually answered the question. One practical thing we can do is renounce it with our lips, with our mouth. I renounce the idol of my children. God, I repent.
Okay, so they were talking about where you can make your family and make specifically your children. That's what she just landed on. But what they were talking about a few mere moments ago was you can allow ministry to become your idol. And she said the remedy for idols is to renounce them. If you could sit down with Rebecca and just encourage her, what would you maybe encourage her to renounce or to deal with, Elizabeth? And yes, I'm putting you on the spot as a young woman.
Well, I think part of me would want to validate the difficulties that she's had to face through this, because if you don't make someone feel seen and validated, then anything else you say is going to fall on deaf ears. And I think that there has been an element that's just, there's so much pressure on her, but I would tell her, like, your mom, and I know you love her, so it's like, your mom should not be treating you this way as her daughter. Think about your daughters. Would you do that to them? Like, I think she has at least one daughter. Would you do that to your daughter? Would JW do that to your daughter? And is that, if that's going on in your family, your immediate family, then we have another problem, a bigger problem. But it doesn't seem that way. I would tell her, you don't have to do this. you can get out of this and be okay. And it doesn't have to be this everything at once. It's one day at a time, one step at a time. The Bible tells us in Matthew 6 to not worry about tomorrow, that tomorrow has enough, today has enough cares for today. And one day at a time. That's how I have lived my life for some time now. And it's so much more peaceful than imagining all the things that could go wrong tomorrow. I mean, that's why we have a whole section from Jesus. I mean, that's red letter. That came from directly from Jesus to us on how to handle life's hardships, and that his burden is easy and his yoke is light, and he wants to refresh and strengthen us. He doesn't want us to be bogged down by people who want to control and manipulate and abuse us. It also says that someone who manipulates it's evil. And you don't have to allow someone to have evil works against you. We have way more authority than that in the Lord.
I think there's about 2 thoughts I want you to help me talk through, and we'll call this a wrap in a minute. But one of them is that Jonathan and Susie, and by the way, you've spoken to Susie, you've met Jonathan. At some level, you know them, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Are they the real deal?
They're amazing. They are so the real deal. Some of the best people I have ever had the honor of meeting.
Yeah. And I'm just throwing, for anybody that may be like for the first time, what are they talking about? These are real people. As I see it, I want to kind of go down this trail just for a second. Jonathan, Susie, I feel did everything that they could, that their conscience allowed, to, try to get along, make the situation work. But there were a couple of non-negotiables. They could not read that comment. It was a violation of their conscience, and that caused a lot of bother. And then there was this whole, signing of the NDA, and it just wasn't going to do it. I guess my question for Rebecca would be, so Jonathan and Susie had some lines in the sand. We'll work with you as much as possible, but there's a line or two in the sand that we can't cross. Can't cross it. Ain't going to do it. You can't push us. You can't manipulate us. You can't threaten us. We're not going to do it. Elizabeth, what lines in the sand does Rebecca have that you can see?
I think that's the problem. There's no set of boundaries for her, and she is very enmeshed. I think that she should read some books on what a narcissistic parent does to their child, and she'll very much see herself as the child in that book that she reads, and educate herself. I'm not saying she's not educated, but maybe in that particular subject, and learn how to have boundaries with a narcissist, and try to apply some of those principles and just start there and see where it takes you, instead of, freaking yourself out that God's not going to take care of you. Maybe start with a small step of faithfulness, and let God just bless that small step, and just one thing at a time. And I don't know, maybe she's very overwhelmed. That's just kind of what I see. And I don't know how you wouldn't be in that situation. And it's your mom. It's like, mother-daughter relationships are very influential on one another and on our lives.
Yeah.
So I feel like a little bit of empathy for her, in the sense that, I can't imagine being in her situation, like having to basically, it would be a very difficult decision. I said earlier, if I had to choose between my mom and my brother, but this is given that my brother wouldn't do anything crazy. If my brother was in the right and my mom was in the wrong, I wouldn't matter what my mom would say. Wouldn't matter what she'd try to threaten me with, or use against me, or try to give me, or bless, quote unquote, bless me with. There would be nothing. I think she needs to remember who Jonathan and Susie are to her, and not allow someone to take that from her.
Yeah. And one day your mom's going to be gone, and you're going to have your brother and your sister. And so you set this up perfectly, because I'd like to close on perfectly. Did I say perfectly?
No, I think
I just made a, okay. Frankly, that's not what I said. So let's try to wrap on this then. if you have any thoughts, and I'm sure you have many. You talked about a little bit about narcissism. In this clip, they're talking about how you can make ministry an idol. And if you're doing ministry for ministry's sake, instead of for love for God, you can lose your love for God. So they're articulating this pretty clearly. Elizabeth, I just got to ask you, aren't they describing what Joanie has done with Daystar?
Oh, absolutely. I think Joanie's love for Daystar is her God, and there really is no other God at all. It's not even a God before God. It's like her only God. It's like her own form of religion, her own form of faith that she's created. And goodness, whew, she's got a lot to answer for.
And so do you think Rebecca sees that when she's talking about this? I think she's kind of testifying against herself, talking about herself, but does she not realize that she's talking about her mom, the very one that, in my humble opinion, happens to be right, is doing all this? Does she realize the idolatry that is exhibited in what her mother's doing?
I think so. I don't know how you couldn't. And according to accounts that we've heard from Jonathan and Susie, the way that she was with them, and she was one of the first people to stick up for Jonathan and Susie when the incident happened at the beach house. And I think that she saw it then, and probably before then, and probably her whole life. But maybe that's what makes her blind to it, or desensitized to it as well. And so it's hard when you're in the situation to see it for what it is sometimes.
Elizabeth, we're nearing the close here, but we got to take this comment, because it's easy for those of us that have been following this to think that everybody's at equal levels of just having followed this. And there's a lot to this, folks. But see, here's a comment. So let's go. I'm going to let you take it. This is from MB32225. Just a thought. Could her mom be controlling with money and finances? Elizabeth, go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, we know that Daystar is the one that purchased Daystar, aka Joanie, the president of Daystar, purchased Rachel and Rebecca's homes. So that's their home. One. Then Daystar is where they work. So that's two. Daystar is their family. That's three. It goes beyond money and finances. Joanie controls everyone's lives. That allows her to control. She's not just a friend, a casual friend. She is going to run your life. She's not just a mother that lets her have her adult children make decisions. She's going to make those decisions. She is going to make the call. She is going to be the voice of God to them. And that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, and I don't know who MB2225 is. I'm gonna assume that we're good friends. And okay, I just want to say this. Please don't take this the wrong way. When I read that comment, I want to say, "Well, duh." That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. I want to try to get off this, but rather look, we're not talking about a well-to-do family. We're talking about a family where the head lamb is worth tens of millions of dollars. And yet the father passes. I mean, look, I can understand you don't want to spoil your kids rotten and make them irresponsible, but I don't think it's out of the question that you'd say, you know what? Your father worked very hard. He did very well. And here's your mortgage paid off. And here's a lump sum. See what you can do with it, but not Miss Joanie. No. She's going to dole it out. She's going to control it. She's going to control. It's a family business, folks. It's a family business. And and I love Jonathan and Susie, and I always try to be sensitive, but it's one of the problems. It's the nepotism. So, so yeah. And I got to say one more thing, guys, because I'm trying to close. I don't want to say I'm trying to close the way Paula White closed. I'm trying to close in the abundance of rain. I'm trying to close. God. Forgive me. But we're on this thing of idols, and we're on this thing of ministry being an idol. And it came out of Rebecca's own mouth that if you do ministry for ministry's sake, then you can lose your love for God. Now,
Yeah.
let's just take that as a premise. Elizabeth, I'm going way around the corner to get to this question. You haven't met Rebecca, but what do you think? Do you think Rebecca Weiss really believes that Catherine Crick is an apostle?
No. No, Rebecca says way too many wise things. Not to be confused with her last name Weiss, but she does. She says a lot of things that I'm like, wow, that's good, girl. Like, if she thinks that, then I don't know if she'll ever come out, and do that. I don't know.
And I'm asking that question for a reason, and I guess I'll just rest my case on one example. But I would say, Rebecca, just focus on that one thing. Your dad wasn't perfect.
Mhm.
I think he went to excess with the prosperity gospel. Yeah. If you really believe all those guys in the prosperity gospel, you don't have any financial worries. Sow $100 offering, and then when 100 times that comes in, sow another 1,000, and you're set for life. Oh, so okay, but so there were excesses with that. Okay,
Yeah.
but would your father? So I don't agree with everything. And your father repented. I believe that. So I want to speak well of him. Prosperity
Sure.
gospel, I have some issues with. Okay. But honestly, Rebecca Weiss, honestly, I could go into other things. I'll try to just make one point. Would your father really platform Catherine Crick, the false apostle? Elizabeth, you can respond to that, but I'm trying to get that question out there.
I would hope not. I mean, they had a lot of good people on Daystar, when Marcus was still on this earth, and his ministry was just full of life and color, and it was like oranges and sunshine, you know what I mean? Like, it was amazing. But then those oranges and sunshine went rotten and went dark real quick
So
once he
maybe,
passed away.
if you'd be willing to, and I could go into many other areas. I guess I'm just going to drill down on this. Rebecca, honey, maybe if your mom is willing to absolutely 167 million new homes, yeah, so that you can pump a false apostle into them and you can pray a witchcraft prayer. I could go into other things. I don't think your father would have done that. I do not believe for a moment your father would have done that. Some things I've already said. Some things I would have liked to seen him rein some things in, change some things. He would not have done that. Your mom has. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I want to give you the last word, but I would say your mom, Rebecca, has crossed a line into a really, really, really dark and scary place. Elizabeth.
Joanie is a woman full of secrets, and she has been for years. And I think that probably the secret started in her childhood, and things that could have happened to her that we don't know about that are terrible. And, Joanie has always been a woman of secrets. And so, it's not surprising that she's trying to manipulate and run things the way that she is. And it makes me sad because there's potential there. But the Lord is good, and the Lord is sovereign, and the Lord is going to do what the Lord's going to do. And we all get to be witnesses, and we all get to stand up for people who have been essayed in the church. And I hope that the Lord continues to allow us to do this and to allow us to use our voices. But the minute that God silences me, I will be silent. And that is something that's we all need to keep in mind. And I don't say that because God gave me this great revelation. I'm not trying to be like John Bevere. God spoke to me and said, son, it's not like that. I just have a reverential fear of the Lord that I get from reading God's word. This is how I'm supposed to honor God. And I'm so far from perfect, but I want to use my voice to glorify him. And I think Rebecca does too. I just think she needs to channel it in a different direction. And I really hope and pray. I do pray for her often that she will find her true voice, not the voice that her mom wants her to use, but Rebecca's voice that God gave her.
Elizabeth Davis, how do people find Elizabeth Davis on the YouTube? Are you on that there www.worldwideweb. Where? Tell people how they can find it. And I appreciate it. I always try to go short and I always go long, but everybody knows that I always say that I will try to and I don't. So I ain't going to worry about it.
I think an hour is a fair time for a broadcast. But you can find me on my YouTube channel, By Faith Elizabeth Davis, or you can type in at the By Faith _podcast. I think it's, I don't know if it's at the By, I don't even know my own YouTube name, Everett, at the By Faith _podcast, or you can just look me up, By Faith Elizabeth Davis. I'm also on TikTok and X and Instagram. So those links are just in one of my show notes. Any of my videos, you can find those other social links there.
Well, you do a very interesting podcast, and
thank you.
I'll have
So
to
do
talk
you,
to you
Everett.
about. No, I mean it, and I'll have to talk. You got this kind of strange fascination with LaCroix, but I'm going to give. I'm going to give that a break. Thank you very much.
Busy waters. Thanks,
Very
Everett.
good.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good night. All right, we appreciate you. Okay, okay. Well, folks, we're going to call that a wrap tonight. And I'll just say that since June 3rd, this is what we do full time. And since that development, there have been a number of things that have come onto our plate that we're tackling that take more time, more energy, and whatnot. And so I just posted the link. But if you'd like to support us, it's appreciated. There's a PayPal link in the description. Also, if you'd like to use Zelle, ohioforfreedom@gmail.com. You'll see my first name come up and you'll know that is it. Sometimes people say, how do we send you a check? You can email me and I'd be glad to email you back. But until next time, pray for Rebecca Weiss. Just pray for her. And we trust that I just pray for Rebecca. Just a little bit of courage. It's not dependent on her, but maybe she'd want to participate in being part of the right thing that needs to happen. And until next time, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the state of Ohio, and God bless the United States of America. Good night, y'all.